All right, time now to take a look at some of the week's stories that impact branding and brands, and branding expert and host of Chatter That Matters podcast, Tony Chapman, joining us live as he does every week. Tony, always good to have you here and to sort of twist your brain about this. I love your marketing savvy, so this will be good to get into. Let's talk about this. Torontonians, this is interested, are divided here on whether or not sort of small retail businesses or restaurants, commercial shops should be in residential neighborhoods. You know, one particular Pizzeria Battiali, creating some waves here, but really because it's popular.
Yeah, what happens is you love your local restaurant, and this is what you treasure, and people like to walk into it, and everybody knows your name, like Cheers. It's beautiful. Yeah. But when they get popular, and next thing you know, the tourists are coming, and then the delivery trucks are coming, and then the garbage goes from one bag to 15. The same residents that treasure them and say, hey, Nick, I love your restaurant. You can have my same pizza. Start getting upset. And that's just really that NIMBY phenomenon that happens, that you want to keep your neighborhood preserved and treasured, and you don't mind growth happening around you. And that's the tension that you get. But you know what? My advice to people, celebrate the entrepreneurs that are successful. Take advantage of the energy, because the traffic they're bringing is also going to support the shops beside that restaurant, which is going to support local jobs, which is going to create more energy and more positivity. So put up with a little bit of noise and garbage, and know that traffic is the oxygen of your main street. And if they're bringing traffic, celebrate.
Some energy in life, indeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
I found this really interesting. We've seen Lululemon already partnering with, the Canadian Olympic Committee. All the gear is Lulu gear. Now it's partnering with the NFL. This is an interesting move. How's your assessment on this?
I call it a Hail Mary. And if you're a football fan, that's a long shot. I think Lululemon, if they're going to move into sports, should move into women's sports. Full stop.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, it would cost them a lot less money. Two, women's sports are on the rise. Everybody's rallying behind seeing these women finally standing on the pedestal they deserve in terms of equality. And Lululemon, to me, has got the female notes. Yes, it sells product to men, but I would say
80% of the store is women's.
So the women. So why wouldn't they be doing that? And, the NFL to me is that sort of Bubba mentality, and I know it's not. I mean, there's a lot more in the NFL than that. But to me, get involved with the fact that women's basketball, women's hockey, I think would be such a smart move for that company.
I'm intrigued by your take on that, because, the NFL is sort of like the biggest sporting brand in the world. And I mean, with like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and sort of a different audience coming in here, I thought that you might have said, oh, this is an interesting partnership because more women are starting to watch because of Taylor Swift. But your suggestion is this doesn't sort of align with kind of Lulu in a way?
Putting a Lululemon on a jersey, is consistent. Now, I mean, they've done the numbers, and they're seeing I'm going to get these impressions and stuff, but I would move. That's not something I would advise. You want to get into sports, start with women's sports, be the proud sponsor, and talk about that you're there to help support women's sports getting the spotlight they deserve.
I mean, just here, we've got Tempo next season, we've got the Scepters, we've got AFC Toronto, who are in the inaugural finals this year of the Northern Super League.
They said right across the board, we're going to go with Lululemon. And you can go in and get your shirts in our stores. I don't think many of the Lulu customers are going to go in saying, I want an NFL jersey. But I think they certainly want a Tempo jersey.
Yeah, that's interesting, Tony. Okay, let's talk about, we just talked about the Hudson's Bay Stripes. Canadian nostalgia seems to be making a bit of a comeback. I didn't even know about this. A new Zeller store opening up in Edmonton, and then Tim Hortons opening up a merch store, not a donut and coffee shop, but a merch store in the Eaton Centre. Is this something we've all been craving, especially in this sort of proud Canadian times?
Anytime times get tough, we go back to the good old times, and we want the good old times. But the problem is the good old times are stored in our memories as totally positive. There wasn't bad back then. I think that, let me just quickly break down. Zellers, I don't understand. Quebec entrepreneurs are always going to do things differently, but Zellers used to own the lowest price is the law. Then Walmart showed up, and then Amazon showed up, and then more importantly, the dollar store showed up. So they can't own the value play anymore. So what are they? They're just a store that sells merchandise. Does Canada need another mass merchandiser? Now, Zellers said, I'm going to go right into that Canadian nostalgia. I'm going to go back to that retro. I'm going to go back to but how can you possibly do that? They've got to sell a lot of product. So I struggle with why we need a Zellers. Tim Hortons, brilliant. Guess what? The color red, show your colors. Canada wants to show their red. They want to buy red, see red, be red. And for Tim Hortons to come in and say, we are part of that expression, I think is brilliant. 5 years ago, I was very critical of what was happening to Tim Hortons. I thought they'd lost their plot.
Yeah, I remember you saying,
they lost their whole thing. In the last 3 or 4 years, the play, some of the things they're doing really proved to me that, wherever our ownership lies, we are first and foremost, our roots are Canadian roots. And we're going to express that in terms of our stores and our pop-up. So I give them full marks.
I listened to your podcast, Chatter That Matters, but I listened to another podcast which was talking about a BBC foreign correspondent talking about Tim Hortons in Canada and how Canadian it is. So you're right, it is pervasive. No doubt about that.
It's your third home. It's where you hang out and you get to know you. Little small towns. I get to meet. Hey, Nick, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you in a while. How's the landscaping business going? That's what a Tim Hortons is, and they got back to that, and I celebrate that.
All right. Hey, Tony, we celebrate every time you come in. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming in, man.